Uh-huh. I like how these spirits are just, like, incredibly difficult to hit, regardless of who's trying to hit them. Okay. Oh, reactor automatically reloads, huh? That's neat. Okay. Okay. Rad. Done. The clean room echoes with your footsteps as you approach the capsule containing the assist surgical couch. Through the window, you can see that the last 8 years have not been kind to Raymond Black. The trauma of the last few days is readily apparent. The pasty pallor of his skin and the white growth of stubble on his chin make him appear far older than 65. He lies unconscious, his chest barely moving. His eyes sunken and his jaw slack. Carefully applied gauze dressing on his balding head surrounds a gleaming metal port, a data jack. A thin bundle of wires runs from the jack to the device mounted to the capsule wall. Oh my god. Getting very dry. I have some Dr. Pepper here. That might help. I mean, we're obviously gonna go with 3. The old man's breathing changes, and you see movement under his eyelids. He slowly becomes conscious. Busky. Raymond opens his eyes, blinks a few times at you. We have to go. I left Prosperity in the walled city. He must be disoriented from the assist programming. It appears that we got to him just in time. There is no time for discussion, Alley Cat. We must move. Let's get back to the boat. I have questions and I want some answers. Disconnecting Raymond from the assist device proves to be straightforward, as does getting him out of the capsule and onto the clean room floor. It feels as if he barely weighs anything at all. Although his breathing is a bit erratic, Raymond seems steady enough on his feet. Lead on, Bubuski. I'll be right behind you. Alright. Let's go. There will be no further complications in our escape. Oh, fuck. Look, more further complications. Well. Hey, Crochet. It was very nice of... Wow. Alright. That went very well. It was very nice of, Vector to give us our own crochet. That was very cool of him. Pop. And pop. Crochet, come over here. Do a bang. Stop it. That's too big. Let's increase Crochet's aim. Ow. Guy. Rad. Wow, that was really easy. Wait, did we really get out of the rest of the building no problem? Oh my god, we did. Alarms blare as you hustle Raymond from the Special Projects section of Prosperity Tower, but you encounter no resistance. Raymond unsteadily gropes his way through the corridors of the corporate headquarters, holding on to your elbow for support. Occasionally, the old man fingers the gauze dressing on his head with his free hand, wincing when he touches a tender patch. Tense minute pass between the time you exit the building and enter the MTR station. The team remains on high alert, scanning the streets and buildings for signs of Sang security forces until, like a stream of cockroaches, you scuttle underground into the cool safety of the mass transit tunnels. You pay the fare, grab Raymond, and make your way to the subway platform, the sound of the old man's ragged breathing loudly rushing past your ear. Seconds tick slowly while you wait for the subway train to arrive. Was that the sound of me getting a bunch of karma for doing this? I didn't get to see it. How much did I get? Oh my goodness. The team hustles Raymond onto a subway car, quietly taking up defensive positions and scoping the platform for signs of pursuit. The old man is unsteady on his feet, but he insists on standing under his own power. He grabs a railing and holds on with white knuckles as the train lurches forward. A group of tourists sit nearby, conspicuously avoiding eye contact with any of you. Your crew looks over the old man with the bandage on the back of his head, exchanging meaningful expressions. Raymond squints at the odd group surrounding him, but his nod indicates that he understands he's among friends. Wu drags his goggles off his head, bending his knees to get a better look at his foster father. A tangled knot of relief, compassion, resentment, and hurt turns across the younger man's face as he wrestles with his confused emotions. Fear for his father's health overcomes them all. Raymond. Raymond turns his head towards Wu's voice. His eyes are cloudy, but there's reassurance in his tone. Duncan, I'm alright. I'm still me. He fights to focus. Are we in a subway? Wu exhales big. Yeah, we're in a subway. You're safe. He drags his attention away from the old man. Looks at you. What happened? Is he okay? Far as I can tell, yeah. I fought against the reprogramming. The old man's voice is little more than a soft croak. His eyes are sunken and surrounded by dark circles. His mother's medical technology must be amazing. It's hard to believe he's walking under his own power so soon after the surgery. Yeah, well, Grandma's an amazing woman. Her high-tech brain surgery, her ownership of the cops, her execution of my partner and those runners. Wu's face hardens and stands up straight, glaring down at the older man. Oh, and the way she had the plastic-faced man snatch her own son. Amazing woman. She's a real piece of work, no doubt about it. Yeah, tell me about it. Apparently her son is too. Pain and bitterness drip from Wu's deep, raspy voice. This man, whoever he is, has a lot of explaining to do. Are you ready to start telling us the truth, Edward? The old man tilts his head up to the orc towering above him, and although exhausted, his jaw sets firm. Yes, Duncan, I'm ready to tell you everything. I had planned to explain it all when you arrived in Hong Kong. Yeah, our meeting was postponed due to kidnapping and murder. The old man's mouth purses and his lips quiver for a moment, but he regains control. I never believed it would come to that my mother was capable of. He allows the thought to remain unfinished. The old man leans back on the wall of the subway car and gathers his thoughts. He seems to swoon for a moment, but then inhales deeply, swallows hard, and pulls himself erect. My name is Edward Sang. I'm the only son of Josephine Sang, the CEO of Sang Mechanical Services, heir to the company. Before I left Hong Kong, I was the vice president of special projects, the up-and-coming star of the company. If you were the golden boy, why did you leave Hong Kong? Raymond frowns as if the taste of the words are bitter in his mouth. My division was shut down, disbanded. One of my projects failed. Prosperity. Something you've never seen before washes over the tired old man's face. Shame. You've heard of it. Prosperity. I see. Raymond takes a breath and the labored croak of his voice drops to a monotone. I was part of a project my mother envisioned to rebuild Kowloon Walled City, a walking neighborhood for underprivileged citizens, fully integrated with job training programs, co-op childcare, drug counseling centers. It was a new approach to low-income housing in the East, the springboard to prosperity for hundreds of thousands. Yeah, that doesn't sound like the place I grew up in. Raymond is 20 years away, doesn't seem to hear her. Mother personally oversaw every aspect of the project, to ensure that every detail was executed properly. Chose each project manager herself, chaired regular status meetings with architects, builders, visited the worksite for surprise inspections. She was driven to make her renewed, revitalized walled city a success. Yeah, well, she didn't do too well with that whole prosperity thing, did she? Not true. Mother's planning was excellent, but the walled city wasn't the prosperity project. Raymond covers his eyes with a liver-spotted hand, the dread radiating from him like the stink of decayed meat. Prosperity was something I built at the center of the walled city. A moment later, an invisible grip takes hold of your chest, constricts it, squeezing the air from your lungs. Your vision grays from the edges and the world surges backward, leaving you suspended in the distance. On the periphery of reality, something is hurtling towards you, approaching from the fringe of your mind like a bullet train. It screams ahead, closer and closer, until it is upon you, overwhelming you with its presence. And then, nothing. Silence. Until a scream pierces your consciousness, pulls you screaming to its source. You're back in the walled city, the city of darkness. Woo! Look at that fucking final boss. You cool. Your mind wrenches, inverts, and then violently jerks back into your skull. Your stomach cramps hard, and the taste of bile burns in your throat. A thin trickle of cold sweat slides down the small of your back, and your eyes refuse to focus. Your crew fares no better. Gobbet pulls herself from the floor, Madness and Folly squeaking worriedly in the folds of her clothing. Isabel grips a railing, her back to the group, retching silently. Ractor leans against Crochet, his ashen face staring at the ceiling. He blinks rapidly, processing. Gaichu stands perfectly still in the center of the car, hands at his sides, his face impassive. Wu breathes deeply, his hands on his knees.
That wasn't a dream.
He shakes his head like a lion's mane and spits on the floor.
That was something else.
Gobbet's breathing is shallow. She's covered in a thin sheen of sweat. It was a vision. I saw some sort of machine inside the walled city. Isabel turns, squinting in concentration. Her lips are white. It was churning something. It felt wrong. Impossible. I think it was ripping... I don't know. Reality. The orc girl shrugs. It was ripping a hole in reality.
Something is here, my friends. Something has arrived. I believe we have just fallen in over our heads.
Wu straightens up, drawing the back of a wrist across his mouth.
What the hell was that, Raymond?
No answer. Wu spins to find Raymond cowering, his head in his hands, shuddering and weeping.
She's here.
What the hell is going on?
She's here. The queen with 1,000 teeth.
Raymond rocks in place, hugging himself, staring past you at someone only he can see.
I left prosperity in there. I left prosperity in there.
Uh-oh. Looks like Raymond's gone bye-bye. Shh, Gobbet. Isabel whispers her admonishment. Ray, back here, Ray. Raymond blinks his eyes open. His voice is weak, hesitant, disconnected somehow.
Are we in the subway?
The right corner of his mouth twitches noticeably.
Why is he stuttering?
He's not. I used to stutter, and this doesn't sound like a stutter to me. Something else is going on. Could be the visions, could be the aborted brain surgery, or some combination of the two.
Something bad is happening. Began a long time ago, and I'm responsible.
His eyes open wide.
The Queen, Prosperity.
The Queen with 1,000 teeth. These dreams, visions, they've been coming to you for a long time, haven't they?
Yes. Oh, yes. I've been plagued by the nightmares for a long time.
Raymond's lips start to tremble.
They began years ago, sporadically at first. Vague dreams, wrapped tight with guilt, with shame.
Raymond's eyes roll back in his head, and he closes them tight.
Until this year when the
He searches for the word.
frequency began to increase. Then the imagery clarified, started to repeat. Teeth. Thousands and thousands of teeth.
He sways for a moment, dizzy.
And the sounds of suffering began to drown out even my waking thoughts. That's when I knew I had to come back.
To do what?
To correct a mistake I made a long time ago.
He puts a hand out and steadies himself on Wu's arm.
My fault. Prosperity. All those people. Those poor people.
The Prosperity Project? Shame eclipses the old man's face.
You know about Prosperity? Yes, sort of.
Wu's tone gets a little sharper.
We already covered this, Raymond. We know that it's in the center of the walled city, and that Edward Sang built it.
And we have Edward Sang here to explain the whole thing. Right, Edward?
Edward, yes, that's me. Edward Sang is Raymond Black. I know, I can explain. The beginning, sometime in the 20s, my mother was awarded the...
He searches for the word.
The contract. The contract to rebuild the housing development, the walled city.
Well, from the results, I'd say your mom kind of blew it. Prosperity failed. Frustration appears in the old man's tired eyes.
I told you, the walled city wasn't the Prosperity Project. Prosperity was the fortune engine I built at the center of the walled city. My special project.
Oh, I'm so coffee.
Fortune engine? What are you talking about?
Wu sneers.
You can't create fortune, Raymond.
You kinda can, Gunshow. Some practitioners of Feng Shui believe they can do it. Ever heard of the Bagawa of the 8 Aspirations? Wu looks at Gobbet flatly.
No, Gobbet, I must have skipped school that day.
Keep going, Gobbet, I want to hear this. Gobbet wrinkles her nose at Wu. It's Neo Feng Shui. The masters of the craft can map the flow of ki and how it corresponds to different aspects in someone's life. Fame, relationships, creativity, inner knowledge, health, and fortune.
That's 6. I thought you said there were 8 aspects.
The little orc shrugs. I don't remember the other 2, but one of them was definitely fortune. She looks sidelong at Raymond. So, what does your fortune engine do?
The fortune engine was designed to improve the balance of ki in a negative ki environment. A negative ki environment?
Somewhere shitty, like a slum. Raymond corrects her.
Like a low-income housing project. I believe that with the fortune engine, the rebuilt walled city might never become a slum.
He drifts off for a moment, remembering. Then he squeezes his eyes shut and lowers his head.
But the machine malfunctioned.
Malfunctioned how?
The mechanism I created to circulate negative ki in the walled city.
He brings a liver-spotted hand to his mouth.
It got stuck. Stuck on what?
Raymond rises slowly, pulling himself from his crumpled heap. His tone turns instructive, the old Raymond, but this time his explanation is halting and weary.
Think of the fortune engine as a sort of propeller blade moving through astral space, circulating ki, keeping it
He hunts for the right word.
fresh. When ki flows, when the rhythm is right, the results are positive, fortuitous. When I brought my design for the fortune engine to my mother, she embraced it.
He exhales.
She more than embraced it. She bankrolled it, put an entire division of Sang Mechanical under me to develop it.
Sounds like a big bet. Raymond nods rapidly.
The biggest of her career. Mother said that if the machine could bring fortune to the less fortunate, it would prove my theory.
And if it could help the poor, imagine what a fortune engine could do for Josephine Sang. Wu's jaw clenches.
But that's not what happened, was it? Something went wrong. The people in the walled city didn't benefit from your fortune engine, did they, Raymond?
The old man bows his head, doesn't answer. Raymond, why didn't your fortune engine work?
It got stuck.
He doesn't raise his head.
The mechanism I created to circulate negative ki in the walled city got stuck.
You can see Wu's patience blowing away like autumn leaves in a high wind. He rubs his head viciously in frustration.
Stuck on what, Raymond?
The old man gets a confused look on his face. His lips move soundlessly for several moments. Wu leans in close, drops to a whisper, seethes in his foster father's face.
Stuck on what?
Raymond winces at Wu's tone and stumbles back a step, but it does the job and the old man focuses. Something in astral space. I wasn't sure what. That sounds bad.
The machine started pooling negative ki.
The old man's breathing begins to accelerate.
And the walled city started to fill with it. Fortunes turned bad.
I've been in places where the feng shui was really bad. That's not what I felt when I was in the walled city.
No, ki needs to flow. Eventually, the enormous pool of negative ki became toxic. Fortunes turned from bad to worse, much worse.
Raymond's shoulders slump.
Mother's vision for a rebuilt, revitalized walled city fell to ruin. It only took a few years for the trapped toxic ki to turn a brand new housing development into a hellish slum.
Why didn't you turn it off?
I couldn't. Something happened. Part of the malfunction. We couldn't turn it off. Then why didn't you blow it up? Wrap it in C6 and turn it into a scrap heap? Mother refused.
Wu's tone turns icy cold.
Why? I never found out. She wouldn't tell me. She would only say that it wasn't worth...
Oh, God.
She would only say that it wasn't worth spending the additional resources to figure out how to fix it, or even how to turn it off.
Words start spilling out of the old man.
She sealed off the maintenance room. Our engineers poured sarcophagus of thick concrete around it so no one would ever find out what we had done.
Then she wrote the project off as a business loss and moved on like nothing had ever happened, right?
Yes.
His face flushes and he fidgets with the gauze on his head.
After that, I left Hong Kong, started a new life in Seattle. Found you too. You should have stayed. Try to do something about it.
Wu grimaces, disappointed.
You were a coward, Raymond. Yes.
Raymond stands up straight, takes a shaky step towards Wu.
Yes, Duncan. I was a coward. And the guilt, the burden of my cowardice gripped me like a vice that never loosened. It's eaten me from the inside for 20 years.
He licks his lip, tries to breathe.
And then the nightmares began. Horrible. Still, I kept working on the problem night and day.
That's the work that kept you in your study until all hours of the morning.
It took me years, even after you left, to make the connections, find what to do. But I did. I figured it out. And still the nightmares intensified until it became unbearable. I knew I had to come back, fix what I had done. That's why I contacted you, to help me see it through.
Wu mumbles something, but all you can make out is the word coward. I need to take another drink. I'm getting very dry again. This is a lot of fucking talking. Ugh. What about the rip in reality we saw in our vision? Raymond's voice flattens.
When the machine malfunctioned, when the circulator became stuck in astral space, it lodged in another domain.
He sways and his hips begin to tremble.
And something lived there.
Not good. The old man begins to drift.
After 20 years of constant force, the circulator finally began tearing astral space, created a rupture in her domain.
He begins rocking in place.
And now she's pushing through. And now she's pushing through. And now she's pushing through. Yeah, she's pushing through all right.
Wu snarls at his foster father.
The queen with 1,000 fucking teeth. A thing you brought here, Raymond.
Raymond stops his rocking, becomes fully lucid. He snaps back at Wu.
I understand that, Mr. Wu. That's why I came back. I believe she is only partially here. She hasn't pushed all the way through yet. She's probing her new hunting ground.
The emotional strain of his snap at Wu rattles him again.
I know what to do now. How to extract the circulator. Shut the machine down before she can fully manifest. Just get me to the center of the walled city, to the fortune engine. I will do the rest. Please help me. Help them.
That machine has caused unspeakable misery. It needs to be shut down. Whatever misery the machine's caused is nothing compared to what's gonna happen now. The little Decker's eyes open wide, more white than iris. It's not just a thing in there, Alley Cat. It's a Yama King, a demon goddess. Her breathing becomes faster, shallower. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can go back in there. We're trapped is, we can't run, and believe me, I want to. It's all I've been thinking of. The Rat Shaman's shoulders rise with tension, but the APB is still out on us, and those visions, I got a feeling they're not gonna stop unless we make them stop. And that fragile old man's the only way to do it. We got to take him in there, is. We've got to help him fix this.
I, for one, wish to see this fortune engine. I am intrigued.
Tractor's pale eyes glint.
I willingly go.
Gaichu's face remains impassive, but his eyelids lower in anticipation.
I have the opportunity to kill a god. I cannot allow the opportunity to pass unanswered. I hate this country. I hate this life.
Wu sets his jaw and hooks his thumbs into his belt. He stares evenly at Raymond, his voice cold.
But I owe you, Raymond, and I'm not walking away from that. I intend to make us even. I'll help you fix your mess or die trying.
Rad. That was a fucking lot of dialogue. Holy shit. I'm a little bit lightheaded after all that. Hey. Let's do... I'm gonna get ranged combat just a little bit higher so we can maybe equip the best gun. Oh, wow. They really want me to go and do it right the fuck away, huh? Oh, we got the... Oh. Oh. Okay. I did get the information that kindly wanted. So... Do I get a nice little cash bonus? Or... I can't go into her mahjong parlor, though. So... What's happening, first and foremost? Like, what's going on? Um... Alright. Okay. I need to take a break. This was a lot right now. Break time.